Welcome to the Buck Stops Here, the official podcast of NotInHallOfFame.com, and I'm your host, Kirk Buckner, aka The Buck, the owner and the operator of NotInHallOfFame.com and the sister sites, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame and the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Vinny Lospinuso gave me a call a couple weeks ago, and he wanted to do another show regarding the movement that's been going on in the NFL. There's been some more trades, more transactions, not as big as the first week, of course, with Tom Brady becoming a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, but there's been some interesting movement nevertheless, and some of which are Hall of Fame related. Without further ado, let's bring in Vinny and hear what he's got to say. Mr. Lospinuso, how was quarantine in New York City?
Well, it's pretty, two things I'll tell you about. First off, even though I'm not from New York City, I'm from Long Island. And
whatever, same thing to me.
Well, yeah, but the entire area it's pretty, really god-awful. In fact, New York, the entire state has over 75,000 cases. The next highest is New Jersey with 17,000, and after that it's California with 7,000. So, and it gets more close to California by then, but we also have over 1,500 deaths, which is around 15 times around 15 times as many amount of cases in New Jersey. We're rolling a lot of stuff. There's a good chance that the entire state is bankrupt, and my town actually has the most or the second most amount of cases in the entire county.
Well, this is fun. Maybe we should talk about Tiger King instead.
Oh, now you got my interest there.
I take it you're one of the many people who have watched that. I tried to get my wife to watch it. She watched it for a little bit, but then she just said too many mullets and walked away. She's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the entire show, I don't think I saw a single black person at all.
Now that you bring it up, I didn't. Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah.
But then again, you're not going to. Granted, you're most likely not going to see a black redneck. Though you have, but at the same time, with the reality of the show, I mean, but don't worry, it makes up for literally everything. It has murders and lies and con artists and gay lovers and straight lovers and manipulation and meth and everything you could want. On top of that, tigers. It has everything that someone could want deep down, even though they've never said it.
If a good friend of mine on her Facebook, she was mentioning about that, and someone I used to work with at Rocky Mountaineer, and she said from that show she learned what a Prince Albert was. Unfortunately, she decided to Google that. I wish I could have stopped her from that.
But to be fair, when you look at Joe Exotic, are you really that shocked that he?
No, not at all.
In the first place? No, I mean, come on. It's like the guy is literally a walking, breathing caricature of a stereotype, and he's actually real.
Yeah, actually, I first heard of him when John Oliver did a little piece making fun of him when he was actually when he was running for president.
Same here, actually.
Yeah, so I'd never heard of him up until that point, and then when this whole thing came out on Netflix, it's like, oh shit, it's the same guy. And yeah, but we're sports fans, and thank God for the NFL, because all the transactions that do happen. I believe many a commentator said it's a 12-month-a-year league, and it's true. We did a show earlier a couple weeks ago about the first wave of free agency. You messaged me not that long ago, said you wanted to do it again. So clearly, you've got a few things that you just want to get off your chest.
Okay. First off, I see that the Dallas Cowboys have made a move and signed what could potentially be a Hall of Famer in Gerald McCoy to a one-year deal. I think it was a one-year deal from the looks of it. Let me just check that up again. It was it was a 3-year deal. It was a 3-year deal, $18.3 million, around $20 million in incentives. This will be his home for potentially the next 3 seasons. McCoy is a player with 3 All-Pros and 6 Pro Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely a candidate in my eyes. I think he's definitely going to be on the All-Decade team. If not first team, definitely second team. He is a guy that, when he was with the Buccaneers, he was, when the team was so bad, he was their best player. And now, after spending a year with the Panthers, did another good season there, got a good payday by the Cowboys, and now we see if he gets a 7th Pro Bowl or even another All-Pro, and yeah, it's a lock. I mean, he's already on my board.
Where is he on your board? Like, do you have a ranked list for that?
Well, in terms of Dallas Cowboys, there's other Dallas Cowboys that are on my board too. In terms of active Dallas Cowboys, he's number 3. Behind that, Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. I'm thinking I might put Zach Martin above Tyron Smith right now.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is neck and neck, and then I have Gerald McCoy.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, also, speaking of Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, but before you get there, though, because McCoy is somebody I had on the preseason of the 2019. I have to do a preseason for 2020. He was on the 100, and just another shout out to you because you helped a bit with that. The 100
Thank
players, so 100 players who were active going into the 2019 season in terms of their Hall of Fame consideration. McCoy was there at number 43. He'll definitely rise up there. He does need another good another Pro Bowl caliber season. He hasn't really had that the last 2. He's been good, but he hasn't been great or very good. So whether he's got that left in him remains to be seen. I'm personally cheering for him. I've seen him many times. I'm happy he's not in my division anymore, for those not aware, I'm a big Saints fan, because Lord knows we got enough big studs who came in. So, but yeah.
Speaking of defensive tackles in your division, well, I projected, and you projected, that because Tom Brady would go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, players want to re-sign or join the Bucs, and what do you know? Ndamukong Suh has re-signed the Buccaneers on another 1-year deal.
Yes.
This guy I'm very big on. I see him as definitely making the All-Decade team. And although he did not make the Pro Bowl the last 2 years, he is arguably the biggest reason why Aaron Donald and Shaq Barrett led the league in sacks in the last 2 seasons. And it's because what's the commonality? Ndamukong Suh, right there, right in the middle. It's a bull rush, good run stuffer, and what he allowed Donald and he allowed Barrett to lead the league in sacks. And he's the reason for that. I think that alone is why I think he'll definitely make it All-Decade. If not first team, definitely second team, but I would be shocked if he makes the second team because he and Aaron Donald are by far first team potential, like written all over it. When you look at dominant players of 2010, especially the physical, more, I guess you can say, gritty players. Sorry, I've lost the words. Ndamukong Suh is definitely one of them. But don't let the narratives fool you. He's actually a very genuine, and he's a leader. He is a leader on teams. A lot of team players look up to him, and he's the team guy. That's what he is. He's a team guy.
I think also, too, what helps him, because I think you and I both thought, we both said that a lot of people are going to want to flock to Tampa. A few weeks ago, before everything happened with Tom Brady, I don't know, I might be putting words in your mouth, please correct me if I'm wrong. I figured Suh was not coming back to Tampa. That's the way the tea leaves seem to be coming out. Having said that, now that he's back, I think this helps him just in terms of optics. Because if you're 2018, you're a Ram, 2019, you're a Buccaneer, 2020, now you're something else. Once you get a journeyman label, that's a hard label to make a Hall of Fame case for. Right or wrong, it does it does put a stigma towards you.
I'd say ones that give stigmas are stupid.
Well, I agree with you, but there's a certain reality to it. There's a bit of a vagueness that sort of comes with that. Whenever you're going into a Hall of Fame, I don't care what sport it is, if you are a player that when people think of you, the first team that comes to mind they have to sit there and think about, that's not good.
Yeah, though. Then again, with Stu, I mostly remember him with the Lions early in his career.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying that if he bounced from team to team to team to team, it doesn't help. So I'm just saying for a visual optic, him re-signing with Tampa is a good thing.
Oh yeah, I think in this case, especially considering I think the Bucs are going to be good this year. I think if they get
I hope not.
What? Yeah, if they beef up their O-line a bit and maybe draft a bit more on the defense, I think that's the team you'll definitely see make the playoffs. And I'm very happy for it. I do like Stu. I always thought that he was kind of disrespected by me. And, well, it looks like he might have yet another chance. And I'm all for it. I'm with you, Stu.
Yeah, that's one I'm glad you brought up. If you didn't, I was going to. I did cut you off earlier. You were going to mention Travis. Oh, before we go to Travis Frederick, Sue on the list that I had preseason of 2019. Remember, kids. So this is going to be updated. Number 32. Travis Frederick has called it a career. You mentioned before we went on air that you believe that he very much has a Hall of Fame case.
He does, because you could argue and say, he made the most of his career in 7 seasons, and he didn't retire because he was injured. He retired because, well, he had a legitimately good case. I mean, the type of disease that he has affects the immune system, and the immune system literally attacks the nervous system. So it attacks your brain, it attacks your spinal cord, it attacks your neurons. And for him, could he get a stroke from it? Could he get palsy? I mean, with that, you don't want to risk it.
No,
and
nor should
he. And I don't. That's why I have no issue with him retiring, and I will not have any issue if it comes to his potential Hall case. I know that some do, but with him in particular, with his condition, with what he had, Travis Frederick. I mean, in terms of what he had, I'm just looking at the actual name. He had.
I want to say
Julian Barson.
Yeah. Evan and I were talking about that because on our last show, and he was mentioning that he actually has an in-law. I believe he said in-law that had that. So he had a little bit more insight onto that particular ailment. And the fact that Frederick even came back at all and had a Pro Bowl season, Evan said, that's bordering on miraculous from what he knows of that disease. For that, I think an all-decade team would be critical for him to get in. As you and I both know, as all the people listening, I believe, know, all decades are not doesn't punch your ticket into the Hall of Fame, but it sure as hell helps.
Oh, yeah, but I also know that, me personally, and just my honest personal opinion, I noticed that when it comes to most things in life right now, especially when it comes to all-pro or all-decade, I think if Frederick misses, if Kelsey, Frederick, or Mac misses it, I think you're going to see a massive, relentless, just insult spree from it, because they know, even though that the voters may not take it personally, the fans and even some of the players take it extremely personally. And I understand that's also with the internet, that's also what happens with a lot of fans. But I think, it's always important to understand how people are going to react when some things are done. And that's kind of why that's another reason why I'm always, a bigger Hall guy, because I always care about people's emotions, and I want to make people happy, not insulting, hostility. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it like in anything, you're always going to get people upset. The only good thing that came out of not having the March Madness tournament is that I don't have to listen to people upset that they weren't one of the best 68 teams. If there's 68 teams and you didn't make it, maybe you win a couple more. 68 goddamn teams. Sorry, that's just a vent.
Yeah.
My apology.
Yeah. Can argue with that. Though I think it just comes down to, as much as people want to say they want things small, what they really mean is that they just want only their guys, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Deion Sanders, I'm looking at you in reference to your talking about yourself.
Indeed. He always talks about himself very, very vividly. Also, I mentioned this before. I'm going to go on a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Harris Jr. Signed with the Chargers. What do you think of him? as a player.
What do I think of him as a player?
Yeah, what do you think of him?
Average to above average.
Average to above average?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a little something you might not know. If you just look at the pure basic stats, you might say, but if you look very deep into it, I'm talking like analytically, but the more advanced statistics.
Okay.
Like, he is one of the best corners of the entire decade. He's a 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. In fact, over that span, only 10 wide receivers ever caught a touchdown pass against them. Only 10 wide receivers. That tells you, in terms of coverage, easily one of the best, if not the best of the whole decade.
Yeah, I had him at 75 going into last year, but yeah, go on.
And, I saw some Broncos fans, and, Champ Bailey said that Chris Harris, he sees a Hall of Famer in him. But then again, for Chris Harris, for him, he says, to make it, I need 2 All-Pro teams and 15 interceptions, which isn't really true because there's a lot more that's into it than that. And with Harris, it's not just the interceptions. It's not just the All-Pros. It's with everyone. It is way more than just that. You got to look at the advanced stats. You got to look at
especially with cornerbacks. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you're just going to go off of interceptions, then why isn't Ken Riley in yet? I mean, Ken Riley is 4th all-time in interceptions, or at least 5th all-time, and he's still not in yet. So that tells you it's not just all pros and interceptions. There is so much more, and Broncos fans realize that, and that's why they'd love to see Chris Harris make the Hall of Fame. Now, granted, to be fair, we also know how Broncos fans, especially on Mile High Report, could be in terms of the Hall of Fame, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean they can't still want him in.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him to get into it depends on what he does now as a Charger. There's a lot of work that he's still got left to do to get there. And realistically, his 4th Pro Bowl is a little iffy. He had 3 really good years, I thought anyway. Does have the Super Bowl ring. I don't think that we're really looking at a Hall of Fame player, but then people can do that in their 30s. It does happen. It has happened. He's got a lot of work to do.
I don't personally think he's there yet, but then again, with him, it's a lot more specific. It is much more advanced. And, if people want it, and they show they want it, and they show they want it to very, very high levels, then I could see a campaign. Then again, it's not like, obviously it's nothing crazy. It's more of a minor one. Some people say, hey, maybe I can, potentially. It's not like with Browns fans and Clay Matthews Jr., how they just relentlessly just keep going on and on and on and on about him. With this, it's like they like it. So it really depends on what happens with the rest of his career. Because I know one thing's for sure. If he doesn't make it, Broncos fans are going to say it's because they have a deep-rooted hatred against the Broncos players, and that will be the only one they'll say. Is the only reason they'll say.
I think they've got a few on their list they're looking at before that we get to Chris Harris. But we'll see.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too. I mean, I have a whole bunch of lists for the Broncos. I mean, I don't need to go into that right now in case you don't want. But, yeah. Speaking of Clay Matthews, the Rams cut him.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna land anywhere. Yeah,
the reason I'm mentioning Clay Matthews III is because, Clay Matthews III, he's not Clay Matthews Jr., that's his father. When he started off his career, 6 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, Defensive Player of the Year by the Pro Football Writers Association, as well as the Butkus Award. I think he has a legitimate case. However, the last few years he's been kind of good at most, but kind of average. However, you can argue, when you think of those 2010 Packers teams, right after Aaron Rodgers, you think of Clay Matthews.
Well, being in that commercial with him doesn't hurt him either.
No, I don't think so either.
When you're talking about when you think of Rodgers, of course you're going to think of him next. Of course, now I think of Aaron Rodgers, I think of Patrick Mahomes because of those damn insurance commercials.
And as for when he went to the Rams, and even though it was a 1 year, and even though he played there for 1 year, before he got hurt in was out a few weeks, he was doing very, very well. In fact, I think at one point he led the league in sacks in like the first month and a half, or the first month. So he was still on a really, really. In fact, he had 8 sacks. He had 8 sacks. That's the most he's had in a season since 2014, and he only played 13 games.
Yeah, no, he's got a case. He's got a case. I'm very curious to see what he does next year, if anything at all, because we don't know.
I think he'll definitely be signed with someone. I think the 3 teams I could see him with are the Patriots, the Ravens, or the Browns. Those are the 3 teams I could see him going to. Patriots because he can potentially work in that system. Ravens because they might need help at linebacker, especially with Brockers. Brockers I think is a defensive end. Didn't sign there. And I say the Browns because there could be a potential that he wants to go play for the team that his dad played for. But then I'm just spitballing here. I have no idea where Clay Mathison's going to go. I hope he gets re-signed. I want to see him make the Hall of Fame. I'm very passionate about that one in particular. But then again, what case am I not passionate for?
Oh, I can think of one. Who's that Raider you always get upset about?
Matt Millen?
No, not Matt Millen.
Bill Piano?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I'm not really passionate for him. He doesn't even have an All-Pro.
Yeah, because I knew there's one. I know there's one that doesn't exactly bring the temperature over 100.
No, but there's some guys that raise the temperature over 200, and there are some. Are there any that you can remember? I've said.
No, there's a few. There's always a few.
Of course. As for other free agents, I still want to crap on the Houston Texans because Bill O'Brien is still a clown. Instead, you should have done what the 49ers did and how they traded away a player and they got a first-round pick back. And what do you know? The 49ers, in need of a wide receiver, are in the part of the draft where wide receivers are most likely going to be taken. And this team was up by, they were up in the Super Bowl by 10 points with 7 minutes left to go. Even though they lost, they still had that lead in the middle of the fourth quarter. They still could have won that game. And you're seeing them re-sign Eric Armstead and trade away DeForest Buckner, both really good players. And this improves the Colts, who get Phillip Rivers, who, by the way, speaking of which, Antonio Gates was also close to signing with the Colts last year.
Yeah, I had no idea until I read that.
Yeah. And with Phillip Rivers there, you sure you want to retire there, Antonio?
Well, he didn't play last year. I think he's done.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm more so just playing with that question. We also know that Stephen Gostkowski, unfortunately, very sad. I'm very sad, but he's now left the Patriots. I don't know if someone's going to re-sign him though.
Yeah, that one actually, that to me, I mean, obviously with Tom Brady gone, I mean, end of an era for sure. Gostkowski is, I think, another huge part of that end of an era Patriots. I made a small little, granted, they're always beer wagers, which is interesting with Evan because A, he's in Chicago, I'm down here. B, I'm actually now trying not to drink for as long as possible, which is only 15 days, which for me, I can't tell you the last time I've gone 2 weeks without a beer. Probably when there was the digit 1 in front of the year. Oh my God, I am an alcoholic.
Do not let Patriots fans fool you. He is the 3rd most accurate kicker in NFL history, has the highest record for average points per game for an entire career, which is 8.75. He's also the first player since the merger to lead the league in scoring in more than 2 consecutive seasons, which was 4 years in a row. And he's the team's all-time leading scorer as well for field goals. And he had 523 consecutive extra points, which is the most all-time. I understand why some people may feel kind of iffy about Stephen Gostkowski. I know he's a kicker. I'm the special team guy. Do you think I give a damn about what people say about that?
Not
no,
one bit.
I do not. No, I do not care. And if others do, I will berate them. and
Metaphorically, not literally.
What?
Metaphorically, not literally. You're a lover, not a fighter.
Most of the time. If you're talking about special teamers I would really be that way for, it would be Tasker. Tasker is the special teamer that I would definitely berate people over the head with.
So you've hit a lot of the big guns here. Is there any sort of like transaction that sort of flew under people's radar, and are not talking Hall of Fame related, just in general, that you really, really like? There's one I really like, and I'm curious what you're thinking. I want to know what's your favorite transaction in the last 2 weeks that you think could really help a team?
In terms of the transaction that I personally like?
Yeah.
One transaction I don't really see people talk about is, Emmanuel Sanders for the Saints. I mean, talk about a legitimate number 2 option right next to Michael Thomas in the receiving corps. I mean, that is a great move by the Saints. Went totally under the radar. You don't see people talking about it, and
yeah, I'm happy about that one too.
Makes so much sense. Though, in terms of cuts, I have no idea where Cam Newton's going. I have no idea. I think the Panthers did him dirty. I also don't know where Jameis is going.
My God, did they do him? They didn't just do him dirty. Chicago fans are so upset because they did that trade for Foles. We could have waited a week and got Newton.
Yeah, and they should have gotten Newton. I mean, they wouldn't have to give up anything, and they also wouldn't have a contract like Foles did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would have loved Cam Newton. I'm so happy he's going to be out of my division because that's a player that I always really like to watch play, but I always had to cheer against because of my Saints bias. Now I can sort of take that out of the equation. I'm hoping that he's got a lot left in him because I despise the way the Panthers have treated him. I despise it.
Yeah,
everything about it.
Also the way they treat Greg Olsen too, and Steve Smith. I mean, this organization seems to, when it comes to their legends, they don't generally end it well with their stars, let's just say. And, with Luke Kuechly also retiring, I mean, it's just, they're in a rebuild. They got Teddy Bridgewater, and good luck without Trey Turner there, and make sure that Ocone stays healthy. But I'm going to go on with additions in your division. Todd Gurley, cut from Rams, signed a 1-year deal with the Falcons.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting year for Todd Gurley. He's coming off. A lot of people look at that as his worst year. He still had 14 touchdowns.
No, his worst year was in 2016.
Yeah, I'm just saying because he did have more touchdowns than he did as a rookie. So I mean, if you're punching it in the end zone, that there's clear value there, but. Either the rookie year or his last year, let's say 1A, 1B for his worst year.
Well, his rookie year, he also played a couple less games, and he also rushed for less years. I mean,
okay. Either way, he's not coming in with steam. We can agree on that.
No, he has arthritis in his knee. However, I do like the fact that he went back home. He's from not really back home. He's from Maryland. Then he went to high school in North Carolina, and then he went to college in Georgia. So he's going back from the same place where he went to college, with an offense that features Matt Ryan, who's on my board. You know that for sure.
Yeah.
Julio Jones is also on the board, and as well as the other players on offense. And I say that the reason why I'm mentioning all the players on offense is because the Atlanta Falcons, every single one of their starters on offense was a former first-round pick.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Every single one. From Ryan to Hurst to Jones to everyone. Literally everyone. Mack is another one they have who I could potentially see making the all-decade list, and I'd be down with that too. As I'm big on Alex Mack because, of course, I am.
Yeah, so it'll be a very, very interesting year to see what Gurley has. There's also another interesting, with Melvin Gordon. now going to Denver. Yep.
He's not getting that. Maybe he's getting revenge on the Chargers. I don't know why. I mean, he wasn't worth that much money that he wanted, and what do you know? He's going through a situation where he's not going to be the feature back. It's going to be Philip Lindsay. Though I think he's going to be a starting caliber number 2 there. But the Broncos also need to improve that O-line too.
Right.
Let's see what they do in the draft. Maybe they get Andrew Thomas or Mekhi Becton if he's there. What else is there?
Well, I want to give you my transaction that over the last 2 weeks that I don't think has really gotten enough press, and I think could be this. I don't want to say this the biggest because it won't be the biggest deal, but my little sleeper of something that could be that could go very well is Eric Ebron to tight end to the Steelers.
Yeah, I like that signing a lot. I really like that signing to them. It's a cheap contract. The guy was 2 years removed from a Pro Bowl. He was beat up a little bit. He was moved on, but you could just tell Lions Eric Ebron is like Steve Rogers before the Super Serum. And then
I have to laugh because I just watched Captain America again just last night.
Yeah, I want to see, I need to binge watch the entire MCU. And
yeah, I don't know if my wife and I are doing that now.
I have no idea if Venom or Morbius, whenever that's coming out, or Spider-Verse, then I have no idea. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. Sony better explain that. Kind of why people trust Disney more than Sony, as weird it is to say. But, yeah, I do like the signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just a 2-year deal. Really like that. And, Darius Slay traded to the Eagles.
Yeah, didn't we talk about that last time? Because I think that was the cutoff. That happened, I think, an hour before we went on air.
I think we might have, but no, Darius Slay is not up there just yet in terms of Hall of Fame consideration.
Yeah, because we touched that one.
No, not yet. Way too soon, guys. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
For that.
Let's just see how he does with the Eagles. We got a 3-year deal with them. See how it's done. Let's see how he does. I do feel like I don't know. I think those are all the notable names on top of my head.
For fantasy people, I think they're looking at Robbie Anderson to Carolina as something.
Yeah, for fantasy, but I'm talking about reality. I'm not talking about fantasy here.
No, me too. I'm just saying, that's something where I think if I'm a fantasy owner, I had him in the keeper league, I'd be happy. But that's about it. Mm-hmm. One thing I just want to before we sort of sign off. Flacco was released. I think he's done. Do you see any team sort of even bothering with him at this point?
I think he's going to retire.
I think he should.
I think, he failed his physical. I mean, he failed his physical. He had a neck injury. I mean, he was replaced by Locke eventually, and he was not there for the long term. I could see someone maybe getting him as a backup, but at this point, Winston's still in the market. He's better than Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton could get traded. Right now, he's better than Flacco. And, of course, Cam Newton, he's better than Flacco.
Well, Cam Newton's not going anywhere to be a backup.
Well, he's not. When you sign him, he's going to be a starter. He's Joe Flacco, a former Super Bowl MVP, someone who has won 10 playoff games, granted with the help of with a great defense. And, he could have made the Pro Bowl, but declined. No, I'm not going to use that against him. I think he's done. I think Joe Flacco, if I was him, I'd retire. And that's nothing personal against Joe Flacco. It's just that, the writing on the wall's there.
Yep. It's there. You've got a Super Bowl ring. You've got decent stats overall. Yeah, maybe you didn't sort of leave the way you wanted. How many do?
No, and even then, you get to hopefully your number's retired by the team, or at least a ring of honor. You're going to be remembered. You're a legend down there in Baltimore. Granted, he has no chance at the Hall of Fame.
No,
to be really here. Even though he does have the winning record in the playoffs, but 10-plus wins. A lot of it is mostly the defense, so I don't think Hall of Fame is going to happen for Flacco, but I definitely see Ring of Honor in Baltimore.
Right, and we're not talking about a modern day Trent Dilfer. Joe Flacco.
No.
I always thought, and correct me if you think this is incorrect. When I always thought of Flacco, I always sort of looked at him as in the tier of quarterbacks, lower second tier at his best.
Yeah, I always felt the same way.
You could win with him as your quarterback, and which was proven. Baltimore did, but you're always playing side eye, thinking maybe you can upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you can upgrade, and even then, if you look at the 2008 draft class, I mean, who could you really see making the Hall of Fame? Matt Ryan is definitely out there. Some people have said it Keith Lee, but I don't think so at this point. I think his career is personally over. Could be wrong. Dwayne Brown, he has 3 All-Pros. I could potentially see it. I mean, he has more All-Pros than Trent Williams, though Trent Williams has more Pro Bowls. Deshaun Jackson, you can make the case for his deep threat ability. However, I do wonder how much the injuries is going to really impact him. Though I think after Ryan, the guy they look at that has the biggest potential is Calais Campbell. You have 5 Pro Bowls.
Love that player.
As well as a de facto Pro Bowl, as well as a defensive player by the Writers Association, Man of the Year, and 3 All-Pros.
Yep.
I mean, that guy, that's all I see. Like 1 death of 2 high probabilities, and then the rest is kind of murky. And then some are just plain no. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention Matthew Slater on it. Let's say that's like 3 high possibilities.
So I'll leave you with a couple thoughts here. So here's how I've been sort of like keeping myself in my no sports, because really my life doesn't change that much. I'm usually at home writing anyway. What does change is now instead of watching sports highlights, I'm going back and I'm rewatching the 2019 NFL season, picking 3 games from each week, and then I'm also sort of going way back into playoffs from football and also in baseball. So I've got Super Bowl 15. Don't tell me how it wins. Looks like the Raiders are going to defeat the Eagles. Looking pretty good right now, but things could change.
I want to touch on something else. It's not football related, but it's definitely potentially Hall of Fame related.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Not in the Hall of Fame yet, but Curly Neal died.
Harlem Globetrotters, yep.
Yeah, now, why am I mentioning Curly Neal for the Hall of Fame? Well, Meadowlark Lemon's in the Hall of Fame. The Harlem Globetrotters themselves, the whole team is in the Hall of Fame. And if you're talking about impactful and important players to the game of basketball, I mean, you didn't have much if you were a young African-American in America. All you really had for basketball or any sports was really the Harlem Globetrotters. Harlem Globetrotters in Negro Leagues. And Curly Neal inspired people. A featured ball handler. I mean, he was the reason why people wanted to play point guard. They looked at him, and he never played the NBA, but neither was Meadowlark Lemon. And Meadowlark Lemon equally as much as Curly Neal, but Curly Neal was the fan favorite. Curly Neal was the guy who
was my favorite.
Was beloved. He was my favorite too. Like I said, I know my Hanna-Barbera. I know. Like they had a cartoon about it. And he was the one that I liked the most. He had the personality. He had the charisma. Like I said, he made people want to play point guard. And, yeah, it's very sad that, and just the fact that the entire basketball world, like NBA, WNBA, didn't matter who, they said how meaningful Curly Neal was for the game. And that's why I didn't think I'd have a guy that I'd be so big for basketball. I mean, there's a few guys, but I found my guy. I found it. It's Curly Neal.
Yeah, I think the required viewing for that is, I can't believe it's coming up in the second show in a row, the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island. That actually happened.
That is true. And there was also a TV show where there were superheroes too.
That one I'm not familiar with.
I told you, I know my Hanna-Barbera.
I remember the cartoon. I remember the little song they had. I don't remember them as superheroes, but that was when I was a kid.
They also met with the Scooby-Doo one time.
That I remember. That one I remember. I also saw them on an episode of The White Shadow.
White Shadow?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. The White Shadow was it's a TV show in the 70s about inner city high school basketball team. The White Shadow, metaphoric or literally, was played by character name was Ken Reeves. I'm forgetting the damn name of the actor. Doesn't matter. To me, he's always the White Shadow, and he was a former Chicago Bull, a white player known for his defensive skill. And the Harlem Globetrotters appeared on an episode of The White Shadow where, his kids were getting a little cocky and they were starting to run up the score. So he had set up an exhibition game with the Globetrotters, who they thought were just car washers.
What do you think of, are you amazed, how big of an impact Curly Neal had on people?
Yeah, I am. Because I guess when his passing happened last week, I didn't sort of expect to see this much tribute coming out, especially with the world situation the way it is. So I'm going to say moderately so. And then I guess, and I shouldn't be, because I have only fond memories of him.
Yeah, who doesn't have fond memories? He always had that smile on his face, too. Mm-hmm. When have you ever seen Curly frown?
Not even as a cartoon.
No, and that's, what do you think about, Mighty Orc Lemons there, and because of how big of an impact he had? Did you see it?
Yeah.
I'd love to see Curly Neal make the Hall of Fame. Now, granted, I know the Basketball Hall of Fame is a little bit looser, but it was one thing that I've always loved about him. I love how they follow men's, women's, international, and just I want to see football kind of do that too. That's why I want to be bigger. Just branch out, just get people, the old, the new, the present, everything. Just combine everything as a true honor of the game itself. And potentially down the road, this is a bit of a pipe dream, but potentially, I think, soon you'll branch out into eventually maybe a couple CFL guys, but that's just way down the line. But right now I'm just focusing on this stuff, and just got to continue to break down the boundaries, and I feel so bad for Curly Neal's family, and I'm with him all the way, and it's a true legend that inspired so many.
All right, so I guess we'll be doing another show depending on what transpires over the next few weeks. And with that, Vinny, stay safe.
You too, and do not leave your house.
I generally don't anymore, anyway.
That's good. So you're already more prepared than most people in my own country.
Sounds good. All right, take care, buddy. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully everyone's staying safe out there. Tune in soon. We're going to have some new content up at notinhalloffame.com, and thank you for listening.